Fishing. Something that many have grown up doing and continue to do. Whether it's the calm sound of water that keeps you coming back, or the adrenaline rush of hooking a large fish. There's a reason it's a hobby to many. Today, I would like to find out what fishers from all around the world claim to be the best bait.
He saw me and then I just like, oh my god, that was so neat.
There are many different claims for the best bait to use. The answer you're going to get depends on who you ask and what you're fishing for. Some will tell you that spinner baits are the best to use, especially while fishing for bass. Others will tell you that jigs are the best bait, because they're easier for a fish to see. Like in this video, he shows us catching a bass, tossing it back, and then shows us off which bait he's using. But no matter what your own preference is, most fishers can agree that worms are your best bet, especially if you're just going to be casually fishing. Worms are affordable, easy to find if you don't want to spend money on them, and widely known as the most universal bait. Most fishermen will tell you that they feel worms have never let them down, myself included. In a post shared on Facebook, a fisherman showed his experience of using empty seashells as a bait to catch a fish known as sheepheads.
Oh, no bait. There it is, no bait on the shell. Dropping it down. Oh, we got one. We got one on the shell.
But other fishermen decided to chime in and give their own opinions. There were a few comments that showed their own feelings towards a basic worm working well in this situation. Although a lot of other fishermen had made comments on how easy this particular type of fish was to catch and shared their own baits that they had used. Another social media platform with an overwhelming amount of comments was Reddit. In a section asking, what is your favorite bait, lure, etc. to use when fishing, people gave their own feelings about what they preferred to use. There was an endless amount of comments that suggested worms, particularly night crawlers. We can see that in this comment, user Anwaz feels especially passionate about live bait, focusing on worms. He even goes on to say that a tub of worms has always outperformed artificial bait. Obviously, your choice of bait is going to work best depending on what you're fishing for. For overall good results, we saw people were passionate about worms working best when just fishing in general. While obviously there are other baits that are effective, none are as effective as the worm for the same availability. But here's some honorable mentions. These baits were also very highly recommended. The first was minnows. Whether they were a lure style or a live bait, many fishermen made it clear that this was their choice of bait. Next, we have human food. People commented a lot on their favorite foods to use, such as cheese, corn, and Cheetos. And our last honorable mention is chicken liver. While all these baits are effective in their own way, they don't have the same versatility or nostalgia that comes with worms. And it's not like you can just dig up some Cheetos. Worms are an effective bait that you can obtain for free, and they can also be found just about anywhere near water. Worms are the first bait that comes to any fisherman's mind when they think of a versatile bait that works for just about any type of fish. Many fishermen are passionate about the bait they use, especially ones who appreciate the good old worm. People from all over have created a nostalgic connection with the worm. If you've ever fished, I'm sure you remember your first time putting a worm on the hook and casting it out, waiting for a bite. This exact scenario is one that almost any fisherman can relate to. Using worms as bait will almost never let you down. You can try all the fancy artificial lures, but at the end of the day, worms will always be known as the king of baits, and that is why it holds a special place in any fisherman's heart.